Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Shameem Ahmad from IDEAS, which stands for the Institute for Digital Economy and Artificial Systems in Xiamen City, China. Today, I am truly honored to share with you my research on the impact of geopolitical tensions on China-Indian trade relations, with a special emphasis on the technology sector. This topic couldn't be more timely as we witness the dramatic shift in the geopolitical landscape that are reshaping international trade and cooperation between Asia's two largest economies, China and India. The paper examines four critical aspects. Firstly, the paper analyzes how geopolitical dynamics have influenced trade between two nations, with a special attention to the technology sector. The research begins by outlining the historical journey of China-India relations, particularly focusing on how pivotal events like 2020 Galwan incident have transformed trade dynamics. To truly grasp the dynamics of China-Indian trade relations, we must first look back at their shared history. What we see is the fascinating patterns of ups and downs, periods where cooperation flourished, alternating with times of significant tensions. Take, for instance, two recent watershed moments, the Doklad standoff in 2017 and Galwan Valley clash in 2020. These events didn't just create diplomatic tensions, they fundamentally altered their economic relationship. Now, what's particularly interesting is how these incidents targeting a complete revolution of a strategic partnership, especially in the tech sector, a sector that both nations recognize as the backbone of future economic growth. What we are witnessing today is a dramatic shift in geopolitical landscape where both countries are increasingly viewing the relationship through a comparative rather than collaborative lenses. The paper makes several key contributions to our understanding of China-Indian trade relations and tech collaboration relations. It provides empirical evidences demonstrating how political tensions disrupts trade flows, especially in technology sector. It analyzes policy responses from both nations and their economic impacts. It offers strategic recommendation aims at fostering future cooperation despite existing challenges. Let me share with you the four critical questions that drove this research. First, this study investigated how recent geopolitical tensions have reshaped trade patterns between two nations, particularly in the technology sector. Next, the research analyzes how both countries responded through policies and what these responses mean for investment, market access, and innovation. Third, this investigation examined something fascinating, how these bilateral dynamics are transforming not just the two nations, but global technology supply chains as a whole. And finally, the study explores the internal factors that drove each country's approach to tech relations and how these interact with broader global factors. Now let me explain the methodology which combined two powerful approaches. The qualitative analysis dove deep into primary sources, examining everything from policy documents to trade agreements to understand how geopolitical tensions influence trade dynamics. Meanwhile, the quantitative analysis provide hard data tracking changes in trade volumes and investment patterns in the technology sector. The dual approach gave us comprehensive insight into how geopolitics and trade interacts between these two major economies. Let me now share some key trade data that illustrate the current state of China-Indian trade relations. What's fascinating is that since 2000s, we have witnessed a remarkable 45-fold growth in bilateral trade between two countries. However, this growth comes with a significant caveat. It has led to a considerable trade imbalance in China's favor. To pull this into perspective, in 2023, the total trade volume between China and India reached approximately 136 billion US dollars. This figure tells us two important stories. It shows how deeply the two countries' economies are intertwined, but also reveals the vulnerabilities that emerge when geopolitical tension arises. Let me break it down these numbers for you. Only electronics makes about 30% of China's exports to India, which follows by machinery, which represents around 25%. Meanwhile, India's export to China consists mainly on low value added services and raw materials. This imbalance, as you can see, raises significant concerns about India's growing technological dependence on China. Now let me walk you through some critical events that have shaped these dynamics. For example, the Galwan Valley conflict in 2020 led to an immediate decline in bilateral trade. In the same year, new FDI rules targeting Chinese investment were introduced, which significantly slowed Chinese investment flowing into India's tech sector or tech market. However, I want to emphasize that despite these challenges, we have been seeing positive signs of stabilization, including military disengagement, discussions, and diplomatic signals that suggest a gradual improvement in China-India's relation. And the technology sector is a focal point of competition and potential cooperation between China and India. The geopolitical landscape has led to significant disruption for Chinese tech companies operating in India, costing them billions in lost revenue and market valuation. Conversely, this situation has catalyzed the emergence of local alternatives within India's tech ecosystem, which is very crucial for India's self-reliance initiatives. For example, Indian companies are now stepped up to fill the gaps left by banned Chinese apps, leading to innovation and growth within domestic tech markets. But this also limiting some other growth potential within the India's tech industry, lacking of support from Chinese tech experience inflow to India. Let's examine India's strategic response to these challenges. The government has implied, as we talked about, several significant policy measures to ensure digital sovereignty. First and foremost, following the Galwan clash in 2020, India took the decisive step to banning over 250 Chinese applications. This was followed by a modification in FDI policies, which any investment from countries sharing a land border with India now requires additional regulatory approval, which is primarily targeting Chinese investments inflowing to India. While this measure has its economical implication, it reflects India's commitment to national empowerment, especially in tech sector. Furthermore, in a move to boost domestic capabilities, India launched an innovative incentives scheme in 2020, at the same year, especially designed to enhance indigenous electronics manufacturing. These strategic initiatives collectively demonstrate India's determined effort to reduce technological dependence on China while fostering robust domestic capabilities. Now, despite the tensions we have just outlined, I want to highlight some remarkable collaboration efforts between the two Asian giants. One notable example is SIDCOP, which stands for the Sino-Indian Digital Cooperation Plaza, which has become a vital platform for AI and IoT cooperation. What's more encouraging is that India has established IT corridor in Chinese cities like Dalian and Guiyang, creating valuable channels for technological exchange and business opportunities. These initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, demonstrate the immense potential that exists when China and India work together. And this paper strongly advocates for expanding such collaborative ventures in the future. Now let's explore potential future scenarios that could shape China-India tech relation. There are several possibilities to consider. One is the continued rivalry, the most likely scenario where both nations maintain their pursuit of technological self-reliance while keeping cooperation at a minimal level. The other scenario is escalated decoupling, which we might see increased restrictions leading to a comprehensive technological separation between these two nations. Another scenario is a pragmatic cooperation, which is, on a more optimistic note, there could be focused collaboration in neutral sectors like climate tech or healthcare technology. There is also potential for enhanced engagement through mutual forums to help ease bilateral tensions. I'd like to particularly emphasize the role of BRICS in this context. Despite their differences, both China and India can leverage BRICS membership to foster meaningful economic and technological partnership. Let me explain how this could work. For example, China brings to the table its exceptional infrastructure expertise, which could revolutionize regional connectivity and trade efficiency. And India's renowned software capabilities could drive innovation across multiple sectors, boosting overall productivity. What's particularly exciting is how BRICS is opening new doors for collaboration in digital innovation, cybersecurity, and green technology. So by working together within this framework, these two nations can address their geopolitical challenges while building a more integrated economic future. And while India may have opted out RCEP, these multilateral platforms still offer valuable opportunities for enhanced bilateral cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this collaborative approach will be absolutely crucial for these two major economies to navigate an increasingly complex global landscape. Based on my research, I'd like to share some key recommendations, which I also mentioned in the paper, for strengthening the China-India tech relations. For example, within the BRICS framework, which I've just mentioned, I've identified several key strategies that could help both nations move forward constructively. For example, establishing a high-level tech dialogue. In this research, I have suggested that creating a dedicated bilateral mechanism within BRICS is very crucial. This will serve as a platform for addressing tech relation issues and fostering open communication. And I also recommend the sector-specific cooperation. What does that mean is that several promising areas of collaboration, particularly in non-sensitive sectors like climate tech and health technology, where both nations can benefit without compromising anything. Another thing is the joint research initiative. This study also recommends encouraging joint research projects with clear IP protocols between Chinese and Indian institutions. For example, our institute, the IITF, is actively pursuing and promoting such an initiative. If you are an Indian institution interested in establishing collaborative research partnership, please don't hesitate to contact us. Another one is the data governance framework, which is developing a balanced approach to cross-border data flows that respects both privacy and economic needs. Another one is the startup ecosystem exchanges. So in this research, I propose connecting a startup ecosystem to spark innovation and build cultural bridges. For example, in industry section of our institute, we also support startups. If you are an Indian initiative who have a very great startup idea, you can also contact us and propose your idea. Another one is multilateral engagement. This paper also advocates for academic and professional exchange in tech sector to build the trust. And the third country collaboration is also what this research suggests, which is very crucial, that both nations could demonstrate the potential of each other's cooperation on a global stage. The implementation of these recommendations within the BRICS framework could help China and India build a more balanced and constructive tech relation while managing security concerns and maximizing collaborative potential. In conclusion, this research has shown how geopolitical tensions impact China-Indian trade relations, particularly in the technology sector. The complexity of competitiveness and cooperation presents both challenges and opportunities for future collaboration. The role of multilateral platforms like BRICS appear crucial for fostering dialogue and cooperation between these two nations. So this research suggests that by leveraging their respective strengths within this framework, China and India can work toward overcoming mistrust while enhancing their economic ties. Moving forward, building trust through a strategic dialogue and collaborative initiative and address mutual interests while navigating challenges will be essential. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions.